right. Call to order this special meeting of the Newcastle City Council. Could we begin? Roll call, please?
Brian Badaway,
Present.
Norman Zubaka,
Here.
Suzanne Sauder,
Here.
Andrew Zelt,
Here.
Joseph Day,
Here.
Valerie Leary,
Here.
Courtney Taylor,
Here.
Janet Carlin.
Very good, thank you. Since we only have 2 items, I thought we would start with public comments tonight, since public comments are limited to agenda items, and that way, if anyone has any comments, that input can be available when we discuss the agenda items. So as usual, 3 minutes. Since we're going to be discussing the items afterwards, we probably won't make any comments. We'll just listen to what folks have to say. So does anyone have any comments? Oh, we don't have a sign-in sheet, do we? Wait, I have a previous paper here.
Yeah, I have some.
Thank you.
Voting. I can do that. Or I'm just put it here. Are they gonna use the voting? Does not have wheels. Does not have wheels. Oh, Miss Mayor, I'll put it here so that, you know. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you. Okay, are there any comments from the public?
Bill Gross, 1301 13th Street. I'll start off by saying I'm vehemently against the hiring, even on an interim basis, of a tourism director. The best example that I can give is looking through the charter and other guidelines. It basically says 6 months or less, a position needs to be left open. Same with when it comes to elections. It's 3 months, 4 months, if somebody steps down, the position has to stay open until the next election. And I'm drawing an analogy to this, that there's absolutely no reason to not wait till the new city administrator comes into place, because it's under his purview to hire someone. And it's actually beneficial for the city to wait to appoint someone even on an interim basis, so that the city administrator and the tourism director, which they're going to work very closely hand in hand, get off to the same start, build their same foundation, and learn together and grow together. Another issue comes to play is if there was someone that was appointed, it would give them a leg up on anybody from out of the area, in the area, because again, we're just all family. Seems like everything that's recommended or pushed through this council or the city tends to be nepotism and somebody that is a personal friend or somebody that comes highly recommended. So that's why I definitely recommend this council voting just to hold off. You don't have to vote no, just say table it. And that's the right thing for council to do tonight. Thank you.
Did anyone else have any comments?
Young. Well, it's Good Street and 1 East Second Street at Minnesota County. I don't really think about procedural matters as far as hiring a tourism director. But from my standpoint, from what I've seen before the gallery, and since being in the business of running the gallery, I think Newcastle would definitely benefit from having somebody to help to promote the image and the product and the beauty of our town to both to residents who maybe don't make it into town as much as they could because of one reason or another, but also to people from outside of town. I know to go to places like, the only place that really stands out is it's time, right? I'll speed this up, is Chestertown, Maryland. They have people who do promote the town. The town is not overrun by tour buses. And people coming into the town, and the shops and the business in town really help initiate the community. So we've been in need of somebody, sort of call a tourism director, or somebody to promote the city for a long time. And I know this has been talked about for many months, maybe even a couple of years. And I thought it had come to fruition last summer. With that, I've been disappointed that there was no outreach to the businesses in the community by the person who did hold the position. And I think it's just high time that we get somebody to help to fill this position. John Reeves is newly known to me in the community with his windows on Delaware Street. He just does a bang up job. The man has energy that would put a younger person to shame. And he has a lot of great ideas and a lot of experience. I didn't know until he told me recently, when I read the CV online about how much he has done over the years in for-profit and non-profit entities in New York City and other places. The man has a ton of experience, a lot of contacts, and great ideas. So I wholeheartedly recommend that he be in this position, certainly as an interim, and I'd even say beyond that. Thanks.
Thanks. We're doing public comments first. This is only about the budget and the tourism director position, and we're taking comments on the agenda items. So if you or anyone else has anything else to add, we'll hear your comments now. Okay, then I think we're set with public comments. So the first item is the discussion of whether or not we should appoint Mr. Reeves. Just to let people know where things stand, we did, council did authorize the position of tourism director as a one-year contract. The person was not a city employee, they were contract workers, so there were no benefits, insurance or any of those things. The 1 year expires on June 30th. The person has had the position has submitted a resignation to be effective the 29th of February. And the proposal is to appoint Mr. Reeves to fill out the final 4 months of the contract. And that is it. It's not a guarantee that anything's going to happen after that. That would be up to council in part as we work on the fiscal 25 budget. So discussion from council members on this subject. And well, as Mr. Young pointed out, Mr. Reeves does have some experience working with both the for-profit and non-profit organizations, and he has submitted a proposal which everyone in council should have in their packet if you're interested. And Mr. Reeves is here with us tonight. So is there any discussion from council?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being patient and staying with us. A lot of technical difficulty for our results. I met Mr. Reeves to Mr. Dennis's point several months ago, and I really, value the window, and I think it's great work being done so far promoting local businesses, and just the way you think about art is. I'm sure every artist has their own niche of how they think about it, but it is kind of interesting to see how you perceive art, and that's the beauty of it, right? In general. And your expertise as well is extensive. In my campaign, I ran this one of the points of understand like economic development. Tourism was one of the things that I definitely supported as I was running for city council person. Having said that, I want to recommend that the council considers taking a break temporarily from this because I think I would like us to, take that break and analyze what we've done so far. And what I mean under that is look at Ms. Crawford's report, hopefully have her present at a city council meeting. I don't know if that can be actually arranged at this point, given that it's next week. And, we're meeting right now and it's Tuesday, so I doubt, but in a special council meeting setting where we can understand what has been done so far and learn about, what are those recommendations that Ms. Crawford has. And that can help us set some goals and objectives, so strategically think about this. I do think, it would be probably better to have a city administrator hired at that point, just because, they're forming their team, so they know their priorities, and also folks that are working on their team. And then a third thing that I wanted to just mention is, while I was looking through this for this meeting, I came across the state tourism office and the report that they got from I'm guessing a vendor that they hired to do an analysis for the state. And I think they do annual analysis of kind of like how many visitors they get in the state, how much revenue that brings to the state. Where are people coming from? Are they staying overnight? Are they just coming from the day? Interesting data that I thought would be really helpful for City of Newcastle as well. As we think about, like what this role should look like, right, going forward, and then, help us, set those, 10, 20, 30, 50 years goals of, what we want Newcastle to be. So that's kind of, what I'm proposing to the, city. One of the proposals here, I guess, is to invite the state tourism director to talk in one of our meetings. To see what information they have as a state collected, what they have thought about, as part of the economic development, how to set goals, any grant opportunities that we may be exposed as a city. And then, once we have all that information, hopefully have a better understanding of what we want of the tourism director as well, because I don't know if everybody else agrees in the room, but I think this wasn't what we wanted from tourism director to do in the initial, in this term. So I don't know that I think I just met Ms. Crawford once in one of the meetings that she presented of, reaching out to communities and, creating a social media presence. So I think we all probably expect a little more. So I just want us to step back and, if we need to, we can roll this into, additional contract for next year or whatever the case may be. I don't want to talk about that, but that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Am I allowed to comment on this? After council has commented.
Yeah, I have some mixed feelings. So can I assume that Mr. Reeves, seen that our current tourism director resigned and then submitted this proposal?
My understanding is Mr. Reeves had begun to work on some ideas about promoting Newcastle before Ms. Crawford resigned. And I also understand that the original proposal to appoint someone now for the final 4 months came from another business owner in town, not from Mr. Reeves.
Mhm.
And that same person suggested Mr. Reeves. So Mr. Reeves didn't put himself forward in this. He was recommended by one of his fellow business owners. And the primary reason for the recommendation, as I understand it, is the coming 4 months are the peak time for promoting the major events that happen in Newcastle. The spring events, our Sabbath Maid Market, Newcastle Separation Day, and so on. And so to not have anyone in this role for that critical 4 months would be detrimental. And then, so I guess I see it that we could combine having someone fill out this critical period and with many of Mr. Zabaka's very good suggestions to evaluate whether we want to make this a permanent position. I mean, because the decision tonight is not about a permanent position.
And I think you've added a lot by saying that, because I wasn't sure where it was at. Now, with all that said, I do have mixed feelings, but I also will say that I agree the next 4 months are important. If we wait till we hire a city manager, you're not getting someone in March, and you'll be lucky to get someone in April. The problem with that is nobody's going to take this job for 2 months.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You're just not going to have candidates. So, with that said, I do think, even if we vote to approve this tonight, there's no, in June, if Mr. Reeves doesn't do a good job, we don't have to contract with Mr. Reeves again, but it is like a trial period. Just a thought.
I'll just throw my 2 cents out there. I think it's great to fill it for the 4 months. Background with Windows is done already for the community. And his connections already with the businesses and the community, I think would help us out. And I think would be a great fit. It is only for 4 months. We need to reevaluate to see if we should do this again for next year. But with the main events coming up, I think would be a great idea to have John Reeves within this position.
I think the city manager is a critical role. But ultimately, the city manager is a hired role. And city council is an appointed role. And city council are people who live here every day and people who know the people and are charged with doing the tasks that will be about the betterment of our city. I also believe and know that past behavior is a good indicator of future behavior, and present behavior is a good indicator of present behavior. And when it comes to John Reeves, the proof is in the pudding. He has self-financed initiatives that have promoted the city. He's played an integral part in the spirit the Spirit event just happened this past December, Spirit of Christmas. And effectively, he is already doing this role. We just need to deputize him and to work in concert with him. I think this is a necessary role for our city in regards to business, economic development, tourism, and also it intertwines with galvanizing our community and people here to feel better about what we have here. And I think this is the right thing to do. And so I am in support of extending the remaining contract to John Reeves.
Okay. I guess we have some comments from the mayor and then we'll
So I just wanted to remind everyone that this position was a 1-year contract, especially people not in. And there's no guarantee of refunding this position. It'd be something decided during the budget discussions during May and June and such. And I believe Mr. Reeves understands that should the position be refunded, the position does have to be posted, and if interested, he would have to reapply. Okay, but the next 4 months, like everyone said, is preparation for upcoming season of being busy. We need someone to be able to hit the ground running, which I think Mr. Reeves can do. And not only that, we have a couple major things coming up. The grand opening of the sheriff's house is coming up in April. We need to be right on the MPS coattails right there and writing that. That's going to be a really important thing for the city and for this area. So the city administrator is hired. You guys are elected, and there's 4 months left and a little bit of money left over. Not sure what happened with the previous person who was in there. There were pretty specific directives. Don't know. She didn't report to me. So, but I encourage you to be supportive of Mr. Reeves for this position for the next 4 months.
Anyone have any final thoughts?
I would like to say a couple things. One, I have to acknowledge some of the comments that I've heard from residents. Some of the comments have been of concern about timing and why now and what's going on. And I hear that, I do. But I've also heard comments from residents, from business owners who are reaching out their hand and saying, we need help. Help us. And in this role, I'm trying to balance that act. I was not here when Ms. Crawford came on board, so I don't really know much about that. But what I do know is what I've seen and what I've heard about John Reeves and his work. And that is undeniable. And so we need to separate the two in respect to what previously happened and that role and him and what he has done and what he can do. And we can have different and separate opinions about that, but they can be separate.
Do I have a motion on this discussion? Let's move forward.
I'll make a motion. We hire John Reeves as the interim tourism director to serve out to the contract ends in June 30th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Okay, so that's passed. All right, and now the other focus of our attention tonight is a mid-year budget review and discussion. And I'll just introduce that by saying that Ms. Carlin said to me that the purpose of this is to, quote, take the temperature of the city budget. So we're looking at and how good we were at projecting for the coming year. So if you don't mind, I'll start with one of you. If you have any comments you'd like to make about it.
Well,
Sorry, I don't mean to
Since
put
I'm-
you on the spot. You
since
don't
I'm-
have to if you don't want to.
since I'm the temperature taker, I think we've done a pretty good job in projecting what we want to see for the budget. There are several categories that are over what we estimated, which is a good thing. But we have always been very conservative in our projections. There are items that have not come in yet, which is normal.
Right.
We're into this project, 50%. We're looking right now at the December budget.
Right. Where we stood at the end of the year, which
the
is
end of the year.
50% the way through our fiscal year.
That's right. So at that point, we're 6 more months into it, but we'll know even more, you know, when you have your meeting on Tuesday, because you'll have another month's worth, you know. Yeah, I think we're in very good shape.
Okay. I did have a few items that I know we budgeted for, but it turns out we didn't budget enough.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
always the way.
And that was one of the purposes of tonight's discussion as well, to determine how and if we're gonna move forward with those. I'll start by just listing them, the
Okay.
ones that I'm aware of, and maybe you all are aware of others. Pardon me. We budgeted $30,000 for an audio visual system for the senior center to improve the capacity of meetings, to have microphones so that it's easier for the public to hear and also easier for the recording to pick up. We got 2 bids. The low one came in at $37,162, so that's a little over 7,000 over what we budgeted. The second one, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask the two of you for the figures. We budgeted money for some improvements to this building and the
Yes.
police station, repainting and new carpeting. And I guess the painting wound up costing more than anticipated. And the carpeting estimate is also more than anticipated. So
Right.
could you give us some kind of an idea of like what we budgeted and what the estimates
Yeah,
are for
sure.
what's needed?
So, we budgeted for carpet and paint for the police station, 25,000. The paint total came in at, and it was to paint the whole entire building, came in at 19,000. $243.75, which leaves us left with $5,756.25. We got the quotes for the carpet. I am not sure exactly if that's to cover the whole building, or I'm assuming where they have carpet.
Right, yeah.
And that quote came in at 11,300 even. So, basically to complete the carpet project, we just need $543.75 more.
Okay, because it's the 5756 left from the paint,
Right, yes.
so we subtract that from the 11,300, and that's that we need the extra 5543. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And then the third item is one of those unexpected things that happens. We budgeted $50,000 for repair of the roof at the trolley barn, which is where our public works department stores all their equipment and has their office. They hadn't yet done that work when that high wind storm that we had a few weeks ago, January 9th, damaged another section of the roof. And at this point, the lowest bid to repair, I guess, both portions of the roof, is that
I think it's the whole roof.
the whole roof, is $60,000.
Yeah.
And we're also, that's 10 over what we budgeted, but then there may be some insurance money involved. Last I knew, that was still pending.
It's still pending. He had to still get some quotes, so I'm not sure. So, Public Works Director thought, to bring it to the meeting, because if the insurance does not cover,
Right.
then he can proceed to get, the roof repaired. He got a quote for 66,000. 66,000, which was the lowest one that we received, so he was just asking for additional money just to get a little bit of wiggle room in case something.
Right, yeah, when you get into a roof, once you take off the shingles, if you find rotted wood, et cetera, if anybody's done a roof on their house, they know that's a possibility. So that's another item. And yeah, and there's still some uncertainty there because we don't know if the insurance is going to cover part of it.
Right.
So we have. And then finally, then there's some uncertainty on this one too. We budgeted $30,000 for a new band shell. The first place we were referred was talking to us about portable, very elaborate portable stages with hydraulic lifts and all kinds of stuff, and they cost $50,000 or $60,000. And we kind of thought, yeah, that's more than we need. So we did some more research and we found some places that do have them for in the neighborhood of $30,000. However, that's the base price. So we haven't gotten into going to the companies, getting an estimate, if we want electrical outlets, if we want stairs, most of them include the
Not
stairs.
to interrupt you,
So-
so when I seen your email, I actually did research. We budgeted 75,000.
Oh, we did.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah, that's right. Budget.
Yes.
You know what I thought we found in the line
Yep.
item, but I guess I was looking at the wrong thing.
Does that make you feel better?
No, yeah, 'cause I-
Nowhere
Yeah.
near.
Where's that under?
It is. You don't have it in that,
It's in, I have the,
it's in the original.
I have the full budget here. Yeah, it's sometimes very difficult to find things on this,
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
all by item, line
It
items.
is,
It's under what, public work?
it is under, I don't have it.
Oh, I'm not sure.
This is,
What's in?
I don't know. What's on it. Because the summary we get as of the end of each month.
no, that's 30. This was 75.
Maybe that's the thing I thought was that.
Oh, equipment parks, 77,000 budgeted page,
Yeah, 2,000 was for something else and 75 was for the mobile stage.
the line, I'm sorry, I'm searching on my computer, the page number 8.
We don't have that though.
No, this is.
Yeah, so it's for people who have the full budget from the May meeting.
Page 4.
Not,
You're looking
not
at,
on
it's not gonna be included.
It's not there.
full budget, which is
Right, page
Five. And you.
Oh.
77, I
That's why
think.
you.
Oh, okay.
But-
Yeah, Suzanne got her full budget and Norman brought it up on his.
Yeah, I brought my. So this is for the stage plus whatever the 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 was budgeted for something like the stage of 75.
Okay,
Well, it's here too. Yeah, Mr. Mataway also on page 4 of our packet from today.
okay,
Equipment,
It's 77 equipment 26.
right. So the bottom line of that is we're probably not gonna spend that much, but we don't know how much we're going to spend. I mean, we can't ever know at this point exactly how the budget's going to turn out. But if we're at least trying, we're halfway through, so we're closer to knowing than we were when we set it up to begin with. And that's,
What was the higher bid? That was the lowest bid of them all, the one prior to what we had. The 50 something, was it 50 something bid? Or 66?
you're talking about the roof.
Never mind. Yeah, I'm confused. I thought there was another bid.
We
that
don't
was
have
30,000 for the
We don't-
bid.
specific bids for the
Yeah.
dam shell. I think we're trying to reach out to some people in town who actually do performances to see what kind of features they would be interested in. Not that we just put that on our list, but we at least want to get some input from people who use the thing. And also, we want to get some input from the people at Public Works who have to move it, set it up and store it. The ones I've looked at emphasize, they tell you, estimated setup time, 1 man, 2 hours, or 1 person, 2 hours, or 2 people, they all have that as part of their specs when they list the item. But as I said, we haven't gone out to any of the companies to say, okay, these are the features we're looking for. How much does this add to your base price? So
When it's listed out there, does it say how long to get something?
some of them say 50 to 60 days. So that's not too bad because these are much more standardized than basic than the one we originally
That
looked
one
at.
we looked at basically. yeah.
They were very much fancier than we need.
and you need it to be movable.
And right, well, those were movable, but nonetheless, they were a lot more elaborate than we're looking for. So now, when I went through the December, I noticed that there were, for items that we budgeted that are expenses, if we haven't spent all the money yet, well, we still can't assume that that money's left over because we have the rest of the year to go through. But I did notice that a couple of income items came in significantly over what we projected. For example, property tax transfers were budgeted at 250,000, and to date, we're at 442,165. So, that's that's the biggest gap, the biggest one, I think.
Interest.
And the interest is very high because we're getting interest on the ARPA money that we're sitting on. So that's another source of potential funding. That wouldn't take away from any other budgeted items. We seem to have done better on selling assets, which is, I guess we've sold some vehicles, and things like that.
A couple of trucks.
Right, and we got more than anticipated for those, so we have an extra 16,000 there.
What line item is that?
I'm on the December list on page 1.
The revenue. Yeah, we are. Just had it.
And our property taxes were
Sell last.
101% received, so we're a bit over
17,000.
but we're not expecting any more there, obviously, because if everybody's paid, then we're finished. But it's good that everybody's paid. And we've had some delinquent tax.
Right.
We've got $21,000 in delinquent taxes paid, and we only budgeted 12, so. Oh, no, we 21,000 over,
Excellent.
because we
Yeah,
budgeted 30,
excellent.
we budgeted 12, we received 33,
Right.
and we received 21.
Well, Courtney was aggressive in going after delinquent taxes.
Well, that's,
And
Well, thank you.
thank you. So,
And trustee appropriations and MSC appropriations are just not received yet.
right, and well, some of those are paid quarterly, right? So if we hadn't received the payment as of December 31st for the second quarter, it's not gonna be reflected on the
That's right.
statement.
Now,
So,
now you know that the trustee appropriation is offset by the bond bill. You know
because
that.
that's to pay for the loan for the Delaware Street.
That's correct.
Right, so that's not money that's floating out there.
That's right. Now, and the MSC appropriation is, something that, yes, we get normally. Keep in mind that, the trustee appropriation, we've always gotten money from the trustees. And that was a deal that was struck, in 81, what did I tell you? When we got the money for the bond bill. It was in 13, I think, and it will expire May of 28. So there's no guarantee the trust will give us more money after after 2028. So there will have to be some negotiations about that.
Right, but it's out for us because they pay
That's
the
all that is.
appropriation and we pay the loan.
It's free money.
Yes, yeah, and they agreed to pay off the loan, and certainly we can't assume that we're gonna get more when that loan's paid off.
Correct.
And so before we made any other commitments, we wanna work out a new agreement.
That's
But,
right.
but at this point, the money's there to pay the bill, but it's not available for other stuff.
Yes.
Just a quick one, prior to the Delaware Street loan, the trustees gave us money every year.
Yes.
I was just curious.
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, they did.
So I guess the question is for me, and maybe others look at it differently, with the excess income that we've gotten from the property tax transfers, the delinquent tax recoveries, and the interest, do we feel comfortable like going forward with these 4 items? And now that we've realized that we've budgeted probably more than we need for the van shell, you know, to go forward, obviously the trolley board needs a new roof. And if the insurance pays some of it, well, that'll be a bonus, but it still has to be done, even if the insurance says no. And then the police station, the carpeting hasn't been redone since this building opened, is that right?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, certainly it's, you know, to make the place more attractive and comfortable and for the officers who work very hard and put themselves at risk to keep us safe. And then the AV system in the senior center would benefit everyone attending meetings because they'd be able to hear better. And also it would include, I don't know if any of you have been there when we've had, for example, a proposal for housing development, and they're trying to show pictures and they're trying to project them on the wall, and they're very difficult to see. And the idea would be we'd have a modern projector
Even to
system
put the budget up there like now.
with the ability to show a power, you know, when we were going to do that, we could turn the council table. I think it would be helpful to all of us. Plus, at this point, the senior center is saying they would give us permission to put it there, but they don't want to use it because they're afraid they'll break it. But one of the
That'll
things
change.
we asked for bids on this was a system that was simple to use. And so potentially, once the senior center got more comfortable with it, it would benefit them and their members by being able to show movies. For example, Delaware Humanities Forum has a wide variety of programming that they do at a very reasonable price, and many of them involve PowerPoint presentations. So the senior center could take advantage of things like that. So it would benefit them as well as people attending council meetings. Oh, I guess the question is, are we comfortable going forward with those 4 items, given the increased revenues over our expectations?
I think I missed one. Is that 3 items or 4? I got the trolley barn, the AV system, and the police car.
Yeah, van shell is 0.
Could be-
I didn't know if I was missing.
No, it's sort of a different count.
And carpeting is 5,500, is that the number, or is that?
No, it's the sum of 5756 and 5543, so it's like 11,000 something.
But it's the actual extra amount.
Right, it's the extra, already budgeted some for it.
That's what I'm saying, how much are they, how much is
The extra is the sum
5756?
plus 5543.
Can we add to the list?
That's the second. What was it, 5543?
That's, yeah, that's the, addition. That's how much
So then, that's what I'm saying, they need this much.
they need this much plus for the carpet.
Okay, so 11 to
So we
9.
budgeted 25 altogether for painting and carpet.
Right, we spent 19.
Came in at 19, so we had the 6,000, almost 6,000 left, right?
Right.
But we need 11 total for the carpet.
So we just only need more 5,540.
That's what I thought.
And we're still having a piece left over from the previous budget amount.
20 for the roof. So 162.
And the insurance may come, that's iffy.
And if, yeah, if the insurance comes in on the roof, like I said, that's a bonus. Mr. Zelt asks if we can add new items. Typically, we don't add new items at the mid-year review because the budget's already been set. However, for example, we've budgeted $20,000 for the dog park.
Right.
It may cost more than that. In fact, at this point, it's looking like it will.
Probably will.
So from the beginnings of the work Mr. Zelt has done, since that's already a budgeted item, that's something we could address at a future meeting once we have an exact number, right?
Correct. We can't change our bottom, like our total budget amount that we actually budgeted for the year already.
Mhm.
So that's why we can't add any new additional line items or change in amount. With these things, we have the money and we're not changing it. We're just like kind of shifting the money from one category to the next.
Mhm.
And you're going to be doing budgeting
In a couple.
in a month or so, a couple of months.
Well, we'll be starting on the 25 budget, yeah.
That's correct.
May I ask, what is it?
I don't have a, dollar
It's an
amount.
existing line.
Yes,
Yeah, we have
Oh, it's
20,000
for dog park.
for the dog
the
park.
dog park already has 20. It's just like these other items, it's probably now realize it's probably gonna cost more than that.
Yeah, and that can be asked for, you know,
Once we
in
have
your
firmer
new
numbers.
budget.
Or if we wanted to do it in this year's budget,
If it can be
as long
done.
as we, I mean, let's say 2 months from now, we have some firm numbers,
Right.
then it's gonna cost $30,000 instead of 20. We can look at the budget. If we have the extra 10, we can go ahead and
Yes.
do it.
I guess playing devil's advocate right here, we know that it's gonna cost more, we don't know the actual amount. So I think that's what Andrew, you were saying, right, because.
Yes.
Just looking at the scope of work that's needed, I guess we could go in and say, is there money, so we're not. Adding a new line, we're just shifting money from
Right.
the revenue and expenses currently
But
presented.
there's no need to shift it yet because you don't have.
Because we don't know.
That's the same thing for the roof, right, so until the
Right,
work, so I'm just saying, we could
you
move money around and no work actually gets done.
you're looking at the overall. And if you know that we have overages, then you know the money's there.
Right.
But we still have to also plan out for the remaining of, the year. We don't know what other expenses can occur or.
Right, right.
But even, I mean, I didn't do the math, but if we do the senior centers, that's an extra 7,000. We, let's say, assume worst case scenario, we get no insurance money for the roof.
Mhm.
That's an extra
20.
20, so that's we're at 37.
And then the carpet.
And the carpet is an extra 5,
Yeah, 55.
55, so that's,
I think we were at 27, adding 55, so we're 32.5 or something like that.
right, and we have more overage in income than that, just in
Yeah.
one item.
Yeah.
So we have ample
That's correct.
and still have plenty left if other contingencies come up.
Correct.
So in theory, we could. Do what Andrew is requesting, but probably best practice not, is what I'm hearing.
But, yeah, but we don't have a dollar.
We don't have a dollar.
So we've got dimensions.
Stop it. Yeah, stop it from doing it next month or that or whatever.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, let's say we get a quote of the month that's 37, I'm just making stuff up, I have no idea what it is. You know, and we allocate 20 more right now, and then we can proceed with it instead of having another meeting. That's.
We can just do it during a regular meeting. It wouldn't be a special meeting.
We can get it done.
Couple questions that I had, looking at salaries, page 2. So it says, year to date, so the budget is a little bit less than $1.1 million. Year to date, we're a little bit under $830,000, which represents 76% of what is budgeted. And if this is a half-year report, we're gonna probably go over maybe 150% of
Right,
what was budgeted, probably.
right. So that's an extra.
So, Ms. Carlin, what
You're asking why?
I'm wondering, what goes into that? But then I'm also wondering, historically, from a mid-year perspective, does that 76% seem a little high? Does it seem like, yeah, we always kind of go over? And I recognize you might not have an answer now, but just wondering.
I mean, this is my first
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
but, I think this is probably the first time. It is high. It is a reason behind it. I'm not sure about it.
Is this police retention?
Yeah. It's,
Okay.
it is a reason behind, I don't know if I'm.
It
I'll
is?
just say
Is
what the reason was, but.
That's what I'm asking.
Is that what it is?
What the
The,
retention?
the retention?
No, it's, no, it wasn't the retention,
Okay,
but this has to do with the police salaries, but,
Okay.
The actual salary.
yeah, but we will go over, but it.
Has that been approved in city council? I'm saying, can we talk about this
I
right now?
believe so. Yeah, I think it was,
You can talk about salaries here. Can you?
yeah, that's why I'm
Where's
like, I don't know.
actually
if you-
yeah, we don't talk, usually,
It's appropriate.
No.
Okay,
but in general, in broad
It is a
strokes.
reason behind the overage. Yes, we are gonna go over, but we knew that when
Okay.
the situation occurred.
So with that in mind, we have about 300,000 excess on revenue side, but then this is itself 255 over the
It
budget.
will go over, but it's not gonna affect our budget because, like I said, it was. I don't.
No, you don't have to say specifics. My question is this, in your projections, will this put us in red? Is basically what I'm asking. Can
Oh,
we,
you mean the
can
whole
we
entire
approve?
budget?
Yes,
Just
can
that
we
line?
approve these 32,000
Oh,
that
yeah,
we're
yeah.
putting in? All right, yeah, that's kind of, I guess, bottom.
So we're okay if we approve spending this extra 32,000 or whatever it is.
Yes.
There'll still be ample to cover the salaries and probably some wiggle room for extra money for the dog park unless something really dramatic happens.
I can't speak at a dog park because I don't have the number, but as far as us being fine with the budget with the overage of the police salaries, we will be fine.
Well, that's a good
Approving
point.
the
I'm
new-
glad
no, I wasn't.
That's why we're here.
Then the question that I had, and recognize this is a somewhat of a minor item, but I'm just wondering about protocol, because I went back the last several years, and this item seems to be carried forward. And that's a leased copier.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea, like, is that like a 10-year lease? Where are we, in regards to that? And just wondering if that's something that we can look at in terms of pricing out for our actual purchase.
Okay.
And just wondering, if we buy one and own it in, 3 years, why are we paying this $4,000?
Those kinds of things are looked at,
Okay,
on a regular basis when those leases come up.
okay,
And, I mean, it's been my, knowledge that that's how it's approached.
Okay.
You mean they're looked at from the perspective, how much was expended versus how much would the purchase of it and servicing?
Yeah,
will it
I
be?
mean,
Okay.
when the lease comes up,
Mhm.
they'll,
You know the term typically for?
I don't know.
I think a lot of those leases now come, when you sign the lease with the copier, you get service, but you also get the guarantee if something goes wrong, you get another
Right,
copier.
right.
But it also comes with ink or toner. At least I know that's how my copier leases are.
Right.
So
I
it,
believe-
excuse me, it may look like a lot of money, but when you start talking about the supplies, it may not be as much.
Yeah, they're all laser printers.
Yeah, my understanding is most businesses lease copiers for exactly the reason Mr. Day just said, because
Right.
if one breaks down, you don't want to have to wait 2 weeks for parts to come in. You need the copier and they'll just bring in a new one and take the broken one away.
That's right.
And if the supplies are included, the prices on the ink and toner go up dramatically. And if you lock that in for the term of your lease,
That's right.
so. Did you pick up any other details?
From a equipment standpoint, we have the vehicles, but looking at other equipment in the same vein, like computers, things of that nature, are any of those leased? Or those are just?
We just.
Okay.
Just, copier, I think our copier and I'm not sure if it's one in the police or in the trolley one. We
Okay,
do have another, police one in.
okay, thank you.
This is premature because you may talk about it tomorrow. Oh, sorry, next Tuesday. But do you have any idea of the snow money that we put aside and whether we have expended it already for, within, are we in, like over that budget amount or?
I didn't look into it, I'm still
Mhm.
computing the report, but I believe we might have looked.
And nothing significant to the point of,
I don't think.
I think we have 2,000.
Did we run out? So I thought we ran. out.
Yeah, Rick said he had to order, and he also told me the price went up dramatically. They
Yeah.
had to order new sweet.
There were a couple of years we didn't use any salt, but I also know behind MSC where we keep the salt, the roof collapsed onto that, so there's a repair there.
I think that may have been part of what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
When-
I have a question about finance salaries, that it's 25%. I'm just curious, it should be at around 50 because of their issue. So I just wonder, is there explanation for why is it lagging? So I'm just trying to figure out a page right now. It's on the bottom somewhere, I think.
At the top
Oh,
of
never mind. Right.
top of page 5. Is that because of Ms. Wall's retirement and then there was a gap before
No,
you
It
started?
has nothing, we shift different, shift categories.
Oh,
I'm not. gonna
Page
say-
5, first item under finance. It's at 23% of used.
We should, the money will all be, we just shift
Okay.
internally, we shift.
Oh, okay. So that's not like money that's gonna be left over.
No.
Good night.
Next question for me is porta potties budget, given the events coming up. I know that we still have budget, but we only just used up a little bit for recently for Spirit of Christmas, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think we have about 2,500, something like that. That's
I think it was 2,000 was the budget.
2,000. Do we need more in there
Well,
anticipating trustees? For the
Well,
restrooms.
that's under consultation with the trustees at this point. For example, we have the summer camp that's there and obviously the children in the playground area, the summer camp, that have bathrooms. So I know there's conversation going on right now with the trustees as to, number one, have they been repaired after the vandalism that occurred in December?
I don't think they're going to.
I don't think they're going to repair it, from what I understand.
Okay, well, I've heard other people who think, well, maybe they will, so. It's,
I think they're looking at a lot of different things right now, and he's not here, I was gonna ask, but he's not here. Mr. Baldini, but
no,
I think you're right. They're not going to repair that.
they're debating, the last time I heard anything, they were debating if even to keep the facility there, move it but rebuild somewhere else, or as you know, they're really into the city trying to take over maintenance of the
Right.
so and trying to ship that.
so yes, you're right, we may.
But we need more porta potties.
I mean, that was one of the things we, in terms of discussion with the trustees, for the, at least for the summer camp children as well, okay, if you're not gonna fix the bathrooms, would you be willing to at least share the cost of the porta potties? And we don't have an answer to that yet.
Our meeting is tonight.
Tonight.
So if they aren't, then you're right, we're gonna have to shift some money to this line item.
I guess we don't have to do it tonight, seeing similar to dog park, we can just do it.
Wait
as
and
needed,
see
I
what-
guess.
It's not a huge item, I mean, even if we doubled the allocation.
But that's what I was about to propose.
And I
adding
think it's
2,000.
a little less if you bring it and leave it rather than drop it off,
Yeah.
pick it up, drop it off, pick
Right,
it up.
right.
If it's there, now they have to maintain it,
Right.
obviously, there, you need someone coming in almost every day, or at least every other day.
depends on how often it's used.
Yeah.
I mean, the suggestion is if we put them in for the summer camp, they could lock them when the camp, at the end of the camping day. So that they're not there for just the general public, they're only there for the children at camp, which would make them last longer.
Yeah.
Before they have to be cleaned out, and they can be vandalized too, so that would reduce the
That's
risk
right.
of vandalism as well.
But we should think about
Yeah,
porta potties not just for summer camp, but also for the events coming up too, so that,
Right,
you know, it's in our purview in general.
yes.
Um,
Now, the other thing
so it's
is,
not last minute.
once the visitor center is open, I'm assuming it has restrooms?
Well, oh, you
Sure.
mean an actual? Yes, so it has actually the 9 bathrooms, but they're only gonna be open Thursday, Friday and Saturday, daytime hours to start.
Well, that's our peak.
That is, right, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I don't think they're gonna advertise it in pay, because the bathroom, that's why the Newcastle Historic Society has a bathroom in there, they don't advertise that as
Well,
well.
and it's not handicap accessible and all that.
It is,
The upstairs one?
no, the first floor,
Oh, they have one on the first floor too,
the
that's.
first floor one.
So yes, you're right,
Okay.
that's an item we're gonna have to keep an eye on.
And you know, it's, yes, can people, it is handicapped, the sheriff's house is handicapped accessible.
That's good. We should definitely promote that during events to people. I mean, yeah, the people with disability. they can-
Even do it down, it's all a national park visitor, so it's, yeah, I would think we should go.
And then my next question is about insurance and liability. I'm seeing some of them over 100, some of them close to 100. Is that typical at this time of the year?
This is one time.
It's a one time, okay,
So we pay annually, in other words.
that's great. Thank you.
Yes.
I had one other, administration, computer hardware and IT services admin for 85%.
Mhm.
Year to date, 16,200, projected by 19.2. So that's a contract, is that right?
What page are you on, sorry?
Yeah, it's under the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Computer hardware and IT service. So the computer, was that the purchase of the, new computer that was referenced?
So we
Okay.
purchased new computers and then also, I don't have the computers with me after that.
No, that's right.
But if, I believe that's our server was outdated.
Okay,
And we had to replace our server to prevent hacking and all that. That was an unexpected expense, and I believe that's the GL line,
okay.
which was
Yeah.
a definitely.
That was discussed with.
Right, I remember discussing that at the council meetings, that.
In one of the AP meetings.
Right, because, the server could no longer be updated, and if
Yeah.
it wasn't updated, then our protective software wouldn't work. And obviously, we want to protect our data from hacking and so on, and so they had to get a new server. And that was in November when Lynn couldn't log in. The server had been replaced, and she hadn't been set up to get in. So that's when that happened.
Yeah, I think it would, it wasn't going to serve us past May, I believe.
Right, yeah, I knew it was like near the end of its life expectancy, so to
Right,
speak.
right.
It's a 1-year anomaly, right, right.
So same for city engineer, because we have looked at 5 years worth of appropriations for city engineer, and it was between 18,000 and 23. So we moved it from 35,000 last year to 25, but now the expense is actually 10,000 more, 35,000. Like, do we know, is there additional work being done, or? I know it's a salary, so like, I don't know if we can
Well,
talk
no,
about
the
it. but-
contract.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, I'm not sure what it's based on, but I think it's based on them actually coming out and have to look at different things. So I don't
So
think.
that might be
it's
offset
going to
by
be-
some fees, but
I don't think it's a set number, like this is what we're gonna spend. I think it's based on them having to keep.
Well, and sometimes, like, for example, if the engineer has to attend a Board of Adjustment hearing, we get fees for the Board of Adjustment hearing to help cover some of that.
And then it's report in, charges for that, so it's just different.
no, I was just wondering because all the prior 5 years were under 25,000, so I'm just curious if we know why, is there some? Year that we're looking
I
at?
think part of that might have been the engineer was out quite a bit for planning. For the Lincoln Drive that went on for months.
Well, that's true. Multiple meetings about the large project at Lucas Drive where we had an engineer. And perhaps some of the Board of Adjustment meetings about some of the other projects.
We haven't.
No, not that.
No, we've had,
But planning here.
yeah, planning, absolutely, because that was going on. That's been going on since last fall, or before that, actually. So,
And that's all through AECom, and they're strictly a per hour charge. There's no, I mean, if we don't call them, we don't pay them anything. We don't have to pay the painter or any of that kind of thing. It's simply however many hours we use their services, that's what we get billed for.
Okay. Don't know if you know the answer, but on the public service page 3, somewhere down on the line, 7th line from the bottom, truck vehicle repair maintenance is at 21% usage. So I'm just wondering if this is something that occurs typically at the end of the fiscal year, so we're expecting that to be, there's about 39,000, right now that's budgeted but hasn't been used. So I just wonder if this is something we're anticipating is gonna be used, or given the size of it, I guess.
I mean, I hope we don't have to use them, but it just depends on if one of our trucks, like a trash truck or sweeper, stuff like that, if they have to go in the shop, that's where
So
we're
it's not a schedule, it's really just kind of.
unexpected.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the examples of conservative budgeting, because you never know what's gonna happen. For example, the leaf
It's not-
blower has been down, and I guess they're waiting for parts, which means we probably haven't paid the bill for that yet, because until it's complete, the job is completed, they don't bill us, so that's probably gonna go up, right?
And we just bought new brushes for the sweeper.
Typically, the trash trucks are a lot of maintenance.
Right.
A lot of money and a lot of maintenance, and I don't think we've had a major problem with them this year.
Well, we
but
got
in the
a,
past we have.
we got a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't,
Years ago, we got one from Newark.
Yeah.
right.
I think we had two of them that were down at one time too.
That's right.
But yeah, but due to the use, you know what I mean, there was a lot of maintenance on
A
it.
lot of maintenance. Yeah.
Those are all my questions. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Anyone else have questions?
I do.
Okay.
On page 2, you've got the SEO page that was over. Seems like 96%. So does that mean we know more overtime's happening?
I doubt that. The SDO overtime is basically sending the police officers to any meeting we have, like here or, I know they do a couple of the, what is it? I can't think of, it's a street, I know they set up, that's part of it, special events that we have, that's where it's going to.
So did we just not budget enough for that?
Well, we have more meetings.
Or meeting?
We have more meetings been affected this year. Anytime you see a police officer at any meetings, that's what's going, we have to pay them.
Okay.
But this will go over just judging by regular city
Yeah.
council meeting.
I would imagine, we still have a half a
I
year.
would say special event overtime. I don't think that's a city council meeting.
Is there any regular?
I think it is budgeted somewhere else, because even if that was city council meetings, that's low, and you think we don't pay the chief to be there, but we do have that other officer there.
Right.
Right.
So,
2, I think.
There's no regular overtime contract holiday on the 5th line of that same page on the top. I don't know.
Overtime crimes,
So
yeah,
that's
that's
43%.
80,000 overtime and contract. But when it says contract, does that mean if we have to hire
Oh,
outside, or is it both? It says overtime / contract, so is that both put together?
Yeah, so holiday is based on our contracts, what their FOP says is a holiday.
They get paid what, double time or
Yeah, I don't-
differential when they
Yeah, I
work
don't know
on a
exactly how they
holiday?
get paid. The SEOs is like special jobs that they get sent out on, but it's in the town.
so would special meetings be part of the SEO? Like the
Special
meeting tonight?
meetings are, part of the SEOs now, some meetings get billed in different categories. I could definitely check, once I get back to the office and see exactly what is hitting them now. But,
I think it's the officer.
it is the
The way that
office, so
it's
we do have to.
Worded though, with the SEO pay job,
Mhm.
that to me almost sounds like where the county police and the state police have paid jobs doing traffic duty for construction and stuff like that. So if that's the case.
Yeah, when they're
it's just a
sitting
pass.
next to their clones.
If that's the case, it's just a pass through.
Mhm.
Right,
So I'm not sure if
So
that's the
this may be
case,
a
but when it
case
says
of-
pay job, that's what the language usually means to me.
So this may be a case where there's an income stream that covers part of it.
I can check, tomorrow and I can get back with you, Suzanne.
Looking at the page 4, we have the mayor and council. I just don't know what maybe some of these items are. On page 4, we have advertising, M&C. What advertising do we do?
I think that includes,
sorry.
we have to post all the meetings in the.
Is that what all that is?
In the paper.
In the paper.
Okay. The other one was contributions M&C for 122,500.
Oh, that's the breakout of that. That's what we gave.
So what paid out, but
With nonprofits.
To
so
the
that
non-
nonprofits?
Yeah, it's the library.
Okay, cool.
Society and
Excellent.
Yeah, all of those.
all of that.
They go in.
Will, the biggest chunk of that went to Goodwill because that included that extra money for the screening apparatus.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it was.
Okay.
That's right.
Community partnership, Goodwill,
But it came up.
122. 5.
Has it all been, I'm guessing it's all been.
Yeah, it's all been one, yeah, so that's why I was. The one that I caught of interest at the bottom, fees of goodwill for Riverbend.
oh, yeah, there's some. That's in. The Riverbend unit pays special fees.
I think it's like an impact.
Per unit or
That's right.
per unit or,
But this is an expense.
house.
It's not income.
you know,
What page are you on?
Page 4.
Sorry, I'm.
I think the developer pays $500 per unit.
Yeah.
And we collect
Yeah,
it because we collected a building permit.
Yeah.
And then we pass it through to the fire company.
That's correct.
And that was done when Riverbend was originally recorded, like, maybe
Right.
15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago now. But it's been a long time.
So in other words, we're paying it to Goodwill, but we have an income stream from the developer.
It's a
to
pass
cover
through,
it.
like you said.
It's a pass.
On the back end with the grants and stuff. Part of the, I was interested in separation day. It said professional fees. Is 50,000,
That's the event organizer.
so we paid him $50,000.
No, it comes, they basically, they get the money from their sponsorships. They pay for themselves by raising the money through the sponsorship. So the separation day is revenue neutral to the city bottom line because the fees that go to the event organizer are covered by the money they raise.
It's shown elsewhere, right? Isn't it twice showing same amount, one?
Yeah.
If you add it all up, I think.
What
I
page?
did that last year.
So do we ever get an accounting from them on separation day?
Yeah, we get, a Excel sheet where all the input, we get Excel sheet broken out and then we get all the invoices.
Okay.
That's enough. They didn't want to give that to me one time. They said, oh, no, that was the Rivertown rides. They didn't want to give it to me. They said it was, what's the word? The, proprietary. I'm like, but that was, yes, so.
I just see all these other fees as well for, so I'm just not sure what that is made up of. So, because all the other stuff is separated out. I'm like,
So they get
should-
50 grand,
They get 50 grand.
but they raise it out of fees contribution, they raise it out of sponsorships. So all those people you see down there, it says sponsored by M&T, blah, 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 blah.
The refinery in Delaware.
Yeah, the
City,
refinery.
Maryland,
Yeah.
It adds up to zero when you do the first three revenue and the expenses. Yeah.
It would just be nice to see what their fee is as a separate line item. And then all the individual potential expenses, because the other stuff is broken out. But I'm just trying to figure, are they getting 50,000 to do everything, or is it?
The cost of service, right?
Yeah, their cost of service.
I mean,
or- So how do we do parts to separation?
The only thing I'll say too is, from looking at this, I'm guessing that the fireworks have to be in their cost too,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is probably a
That could-
$25,000 expense. $1,000 a minute.
Expense for separation days for fireworks. And you notice there's no line items.
No
for
big
fireworks.
Yes, so why don't we have a fireworks with a line item, and bring that down so it makes it more reasonable?
Okay, so break it out. Do they break it out in the spreadsheet?
So, the grants, it was already, how it's broken out. When the funds was created in our admin system, this how it was. So that's how I came into it, but it's more complicated to try to break something out than to not in Edmonds. It's a whole like routing thing, not saying it can't be done, but I think all the expenses are there and it breaks out, but the city doesn't pay anything.
Would it be simpler if people wanted to see, if the council wanted to see a more detailed breakout, just to print out that page of the spreadsheet?
As far as what, separation.
Yes,
people- the
just
community
from the
gives us.
separation, yeah, what they. So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have any more questions. Can I just ask one while we're on the same page?
Yeah, go for it.
For the line item above, I'm just assuming budgeted amount 0 for the violent crime grant, because at the time we did a budget, we did not receive this grant, right? It's the same page we were just on for separation day. So we received 19,466 from the state, I'm assuming.
Or the FC.
Yeah.
That
We just didn't budget it at the time that
We
occurred.
don't, but,
We,
because the grants, like, it's up to the police department to go and apply for that, and it's not guaranteed how much we're gonna get. So the grants, they could possibly change, like, that fund has been used, for now uses.
but the stuff that it's awarded, we do have that put, for the budget line is there. So like if you go above to other pages, like stuff that's been awarded is gonna be listed under budget.
Correct.
But this probably occurred, I'm just asking, like, I think this probably occurred throughout the
During it,
year
Yeah,
after the budget was
So it
adopted,
was-
so it was just added.
yeah,
That's a lot.
the fund 89 was there already when I had came in, but the money, we still have money, so we basically completely use the money now.
Is this for the mental, like that, for the person to sit in the car?
No,
Okay, this is
The
different.
clinician to ride
Clinician, yeah.
along.
no,
That's a
that's a
different-
different grant.
Okay.
They have a lot of different grants.
Okay. That's good. Next question is, can I go or you guys? Yeah, I'm gonna wait.
I have I don't have any generic questions on the numbers, but overall questions. We'll start on the grant stuff. So on the grants,
Mhm.
I don't know what these items are.
Mhm.
So is there a way that we would be able to get a spreadsheet to list each of the top level items and what they actually are in detail?
You mean what the acronyms stand for?
Well, what they stand for, when did we get it? When do we need to use it by? Any general information of what they are? So, I mean, we have stuff that we have balances. Are there any concerns that we're gonna lose these balances because we don't use them or?
I don't think state typically for the state, I can tell you they don't take money back. But that, even federal ones, I feel like.
I just don't know, when did we get them and like, if we're not using it, can we use it? I just, having a, that's in the line item right there doesn't mean much to me, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. For the grants, I mean, every department head knows, they're the ones applying, so they know the criteria, they know what they need to do with it. I don't know all of the police grants. I can ask the chief for a description of what all it entails, but his grants is more detailed than saying you're gonna do, just say repairs on Delaware Street. That's more simple than saying what all the police grant he can use the money for, they can amend it, so.
I mean, my biggest question is, once we have balances, are there any concerns that we may lose this money? I don't know.
I can't speak for the police grants. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure of that, but every department head, if they're applying for a grant, they do know what their criteria are when they can use the money. It's up to how they've been keeping track, it's up to the department heads who use the money.
Ms. Carlin, in working here for so many years, typically this carries over, right? If it's multi-year. But I can see a grant that budgeted, let's say, $1 million for something, but you only used 800,000, and in which case you would return 200,000, right? There's no incentive for us to use it. It's not like we're trying to make money as a city out from it. It's just for the
Well,
purpose of
usually everything
installing.
goes over anyway.
That's what I'm saying, like, let's say we got, these roads, 1.4 million, but we need 1.3 in the end.
Mhm.
That money might return to, we have accomplished the goal with that.
I don't know if we've ever returned grant money.
But I think that would be the case. I'm just trying to confirm,
no,
like,
we
that
will.
might be the case, right? Like,
They would,
Yeah.
if we needed to return it, we would return it. I think they.
Yeah,
they do.
yeah.
You pretty much need it, like if you're applying for a road repair, you're gonna repair it. And they give you years, it's not like over repair, 6 months.
Reuse it for some similar.
I
Exactly.
was saying, the other thing is they always have a list of road work that needs to be done. Usually the grants don't cover all. So if project number 4 doesn't cost as much as we expect, we may roll that money over and do. If there's a small project that overage would cover, we would go ahead and do that project, right?
We could, I know I seen, which we're currently working on, one of the grants. They applied for one thing, they no longer want to use it for that. They put a request in to reallocate the money or something.
No, that's the police cap. And they got permission to use it.
Using it for versus instead of cameras.
They're gonna use it,
Security system.
the key entry and the building security systems.
Can we ask why they're not going with cameras
I
anymore?
think they got them from another grant.
They got.
Make sure we're not putting in general fund if we have.
No,
No, but
the
it-
grant money does not go in. It's how.
No, I meant like the cameras, we're not putting it next year, but we had grant money for it before we actually can
No.
get shifted, but it makes sense, yeah. Sorry, Andrew,
Okay.
I don't think that answers your questions.
No, I would like some more information so that we can understand this information as we're getting it.
Cheat sheet, you can have a
So,
cheat sheet.
yeah, a little cheat sheet.
And even more, I mean, not so much the numbers, it would be nice to know timing, but I know that's not your job, it's the administrator's job, so after they get in, they'll have to get this lined up and be able to tell us when they're gonna, what, the road repairs we're gonna do, when it's gonna be done, that kind of thing. But,
Well, some of these are already done, like I think Boothurst was already done.
yep,
Right, but I wonder,
They were done, and it's just the delay of necessarily getting our money back. So we keep it on here because I know we have a grant that we're waiting to get our money back. The project is complete. So it's just, some of them are just sitting, but they are being kept track.
I did have a question on Blue first, sorry, Andrew, because
you're fine.
now that we're mentioning it, because, we have a grant for 430, it says that we expended 179, so we have 252 left. Is that just, we haven't processed the payment for the rest of the work? Or is this a project that we didn't need as much as the budget initially?
I'm guessing they haven't got next week, it'll probably be
Show up
less than
zero.
that, because that's probably in December. Because
Okay.
it was late in the year that they did.
that's
that.
right.
Yeah,
that
we
project was done.
Yeah, I remember riding through the neighborhood and all, so they just probably haven't got the final.
Yeah, the bill did not have been processed by December 31st.
That's fine then. Andrew, on
I know at the end of, the budget process that we did 6 months ago for this year, I kind of requested if we could get line items for the ones that were major differences. And but we're still at the high level, and then we have these meetings, and I'll be truthful, it's painful at times.
Mhm.
So is there a way that we can get like line items in here with descriptions of why it's above or below, usually like 50% since we're mid-year and scenarios like that, so we can understand what's going on?
I spoke with Suzanne about that. In order to get that will entail, it's just gonna be it's gonna take too much time. I will literally have to go through the line. Each number, the GL we're using it for different things like office supplies. Not saying that that's when it's over, but you're using water, you might buy water from BJ's, then Staples, and so I will have to sit there and go through each invoice to figure out why. It's a very
Apparently, Edmunds is the name of the system that we use to manage the budget, right? And it's not always user friendly for that
That's not
kind of
used.
thing.
It's always December that we use for the mid review. Is it,
Not even-
is it this, is it the December budget that we use for the mid-year
It
review?
usually is.
Because that's mid-year.
The way I'm getting is need February, could we,
It's sometimes it's later.
Hmm.
Than December.
I guess where I'm getting with this is if we as a council could identify a couple of line items for you, not all of them, right? So just the ones that are above or under, right? Ahead of the time, so that we can have responses, you know, because you're probably preparing for this meeting anyways, right? Anticipating our questions. I think, is that?
Yeah,
potentially a
maybe
way
if
forward?
it's
So we're not-
something like that.
We have plenty of items that we're curious about, and I'm sure we all had similar things.
So you're
We
saying
wanna
if we
answer.
sent them their items in advance,
Like, for example, we were just talking about Boothurst, right? Like, and we can say, hey, you know, like, we know this project is completed, but there's still money there, you know why? And then you can leave a comment. And then we come into this meeting with a lot of these things already answered. The email.
it would shorten the meeting, I
Yeah.
think is what you're saying.
But
Yes.
is that,
And create more
Yeah.
work for her.
It's gonna depend on. To get that information.
but I guess,
You know, I mean. We, for instance, the line items, you can go. You can ask these questions on a monthly basis, for instance, the HACA applications. From July to August, we had $23,000 that
Mhm.
came in. Do you want to know what houses were, you know, I mean, how specific do you want?
no, I don't, me personally, not that much detail, but just to understand, you know, for budgeting purposes and shifting money around. You know, is this something is normal, it's just kind of needle in a haystack, kind of situation. But, I think downfall of this process, if we were to send an email with 10, 15 questions, is public doesn't get to see that part of it, which we're doing right now, so that they can be part of the conversation, whereas we come to a meeting to say we already have our questions
Right.
answered. It might not be as transparent, perhaps.
Well, that's
Can I,
Um,
can I ask you
but-
guys for an example of like, just pick one of these. What is it you're looking for under the line item, Andrew? Like, what is, for
Well-
instance,
If we're halfway through
uh-huh,
and we're at 86% on something, I'm trying to understand is like, what happened? Like, why are we so high now?
okay, so you're talking about the police salaries?
No, there's multiple.
In general.
In general, there's some items that are very over and you're kind of like, well, we're halfway through, what happened? Like, I looked at the overtime one, we're at 100% on one.
Okay.
So just.
You wanna know why the police had overtime then?
What was,
Is that what you're, I'm asking you to like point to me where you're,
well, if we're halfway through and I understand, but do we have a concern?
So you get these every month.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't you ask that question on a monthly basis? You know,
I do with some of the items in our meetings.
You do.
from time to time.
you do, and so, I mean, I look at it every month, and Courtney and I talk about that, and for instance, proceeds from assets started out in July 0. And then in August, we had $5,800 that came in. Well, what was that? Okay, so we sold a 350 F-350 truck and a Harley. One was $2,800 and one was $3,000. I mean, I look at that every month, what the difference is in these categories. So, you know, that's,
And I think Norman makes a good point. When we do it here in public session, yes, it's tedious and it takes a long time, but it gives the public greater insight into our budget. It shows them that we're paying attention to it. Whereas if we all sent an email, I want to know about line 27, 56, 127, and 235, and she answered us, and we're saying, okay, then the public doesn't see that.
no, I'm not disagreeing with that at all, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, I'm looking at SEO page job overtime and we're 96% of using that. Okay, so Andrew wants to know why we're at 96.
And look, an item to look into that item.
And perhaps it's not,
I think we would have to ask the chief.
I was just about to say, perhaps it's even bringing department directors to this meeting, you know, it's just once a year for mid-year review and, you know, to ask questions that you may not know about a grant, or over time, they might have a little more insight on what has been used for, not little more, I'm sure, you know, you'd probably just see invoices for things, so.
And I think when we're looking at this budget, we look at it as a whole and they guide us monthly to make sure and we get, you know, the flags go up. But, you know, there's a lot of them that are much under 50% too. And just because they're under, I wouldn't consider that us mismanaging. You know, we kind of look at it as a whole. But with that said, I still think, you bring up a point. So maybe in the future, if something is over 90% at this 50% mark, like there could be just a sheet with a line item and an idea why it's over. Just 90% and over, you know what I mean? Not even the other ones, but I think it might be just a little bit beneficial. So we, you know, so it avoids a lot of the questions I think we had tonight. It would avoid.
Or
a
we
lot.
can just tell you, but just like that, just like that example I just gave you, oh, yeah, you know, if you wanna look at what I looked at was proceeds from the sale assets.
Yeah.
It was significant between July and August,
Mhm.
and I could say, you know, this is what happened. Or not I, but the future treasurer can say, well, oh yeah, we sold these items.
Mhm.
And another point that they made is we get these every month. And so if in March, one item jumps out at you about February, ask about that item. It's fresher in their mind as to what happened recently.
That's right.
And it's one item for one meeting, not spending an hour on it for a bunch of items.
We didn't used to have mid-year budget reviews till about 3.
We have, I think, as long as I've been on.
Really? I don't
Maybe it
remember.
started, didn't, I don't know.
The
when.
first 2 years, I don't think we have, my first 2 years.
I'll just throw it out there that I don't think I'm asking for anything that's completely unreasonable. When you're way over on a number, I think there are a little additional information that you don't have to ask for. I think it's something we should be provided. Understand we have back and forth, but I know you said 90%, but I think it's anything 80%, potentially higher right now at this point, at a midpoint, is something we should be like, why is that?
Well, I think even if you're doing that though, you gotta even stipulate like what kind of line items. We don't care about 80% of something we budgeted for 2,000.
Right.
But when you get up to, if it's 80% of a 50,000 or something like that, I think you're talking about a little bit.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do have a comment, but I wanna make sure everybody is, you know, I've spoken a lot, so.
I think it's yours.
One last question is, and I'm shooting myself in the foot because I sit on the subcommittee for playground. Is it so page 8, we're in red 40, about a little under 46,000 from my understanding. For budgeted revenue, we had 100,000 from Bonneville and 60 from Denrac, so 160 is what's listed there. But then for the expenses are 201. The line under. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around, and at the time this was happening, I couldn't still understand why this was over. So I guess what I'm asking here is there were meetings between city offices, so Public Works, city administrator, I think the playground subcommittee chair, and the vendor. And we had to, because we were allocating money for people with disabilities pathway that wasn't initially allocated for. We applied for 160,000 for equipment only, just want to say to people. But then, you know, in the middle of the process, we had to trim on the equipment for the playground to you know, manage all the other projects. I guess my question is, what happened that it went over, I think significantly, right? 45,000 out of 160, right? Is a lot, right? If you're talking about those percentages right now, right? How did that happen, I guess? Because they did have meetings in which they were discussing how much is gonna be needed, cost of these things. So do you guys have any insight on this?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'm not aware of any of this.
Perhaps.
Those
Supervisor.
Another. About the ADA pass, you know, because the ADA compliant pass, because I thought they got a separate DENREC grant for that.
Well,
Was
the
it DENREC?
Denver grant is the part of the 160, the state bond. Sorry, and then 60, well,
Okay.
Denver, but
This does say.
when we applied to Denver,
This does say.
the 60 initially wasn't applied for it. We just asked them once it was awarded, can it be, can we purpose for it? And they said yes, because that was something that was, raised as an issue in the meantime. So I guess what I'm saying is like, I think playground subcommittee made all the efforts to, to trim the equipment. I just am curious, how did we go over with less equipment?
You want like the bill, you want the invoice, maybe?
I guess just, it's 40,000 is a lot, right?
Because I just remember Suzanne, the other Suzanne,
Suzanne Strickland.
yeah, had said that they went over,
I know, but we have trimmed so much equipment, Ms. Mayor,
right?
because of,
Oh, yeah, no,
so
they- I-
what did we oversee? Let's say here.
Received maybe the thing, but I don't, do you get the invoices to go and see grant?
Diane, it goes to Diane.
But
Like, that, it's not, there's no rush, I just wanna understand for future grants that, playground or some other subcommittees might go into. Because this is billing to city, this isn't going to the grant anymore.
Right.
City picks up the 46,000, and once again, I'm shooting myself in the foot, I'm with the
I don't-
subcommittee, but just kind of. Well,
I don't know that we pick up that from the grant.
who would pick, that's what I'm saying, I think city, this goes to general.
Well, it's
Right.
possible it was another stream, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess the question is,
And Swift possible,
who does pick up the excess?
she one who sort of kept track of all the grants and everything.
The grants, yes, but the expenses, I don't think why she.
But in terms of managing the budget, I didn't know she.
No, it was meetings between her, the vendor, company, Mr. Bartel, I believe, Public Works. So I think they were the ones kind of putting the path forward of, so I'm just saying like, what was it over budgeted there in that, because I know that we have to trim one line, so just curious to get that, I can read it. Thank you.
Anybody else? So. Just to sum up, I want to make, I think we've agreed that we're gonna move forward with the audio visual for the senior center. Police with their carpet, and the trolley barn obviously needs its new roof. There's still some uncertainty because of the insurance issue. And then the band shell, there's probably gonna be some leftover money. We'll proceed with trying to get more specific estimates. And I think that's where we are now. I think the mayor had brought to us, I guess it technically would come under community grant or whatever, since it's to the high
First time we've been asked for it. So I was contacted last week. So there's a game day T-shirt project for William Penn High School. And they're gathering sponsors and advertisers to be on the back of the T-shirts. And they wanted to know, would we like to, the mayor's office of the city of Newcastle, like to be one of the sponsors. So I said, can't make a decision on that, have to take it to council, please send me the information. So everybody here has the information in terms of, here's what the back of the T-shirt looks like, here's the different sizes of the ad or the spaces, and over here is the pricing of those spaces, okay? On the front of the T-shirt would be the mascot and William Penn logo and stuff like that. So I know that the high school is not within our city limits, but it is our high school for our children here. And I don't know that we've ever done this before. I don't know that we've ever been asked to participate.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I actually think it's a good idea for the city of Newcastle. That high school services our youth. And so I'm punting to council as to if you would like to be one of the sponsors, and if so, which size, which correlates to how much money would be spent for the T-shirt. The T-shirts also are a fundraiser for the school. The athletic programs sell them, so they get money back to the schools and such like that. So the information you see here is the information that I received in response to my question.
Oh, okay. Because I had two questions. One is a specific thing. Is there a time frame when we have to make this decision?
Yes, actually, they were hoping that I could commit the day they called me, and I said, no, it would be at least the 6th or the 13th. She was asking for something sooner. I mean, just for say, we could say, oh, we'll do a 4x4, and there's only so many 4x4s on here, and we may call them, they'll say, sorry, they're no longer available. So that's the first one. They're creating them now and getting the sponsors now.
Okay, so they need an answer now. That was my
Yeah,
first
but
question.
it can't be
ASAP,
June.
right, it can't be the new budget
No,
year.
it can't be the new budget.
And it's not, I mean, we have a line item for community grant.
What's the community grant slide?
Um,
I'm looking at the mayor and council.
it doesn't show up in there, it shows up in the big.
It shows up in the big,
And my second question is more of a concern. If we do this, are the other schools in Colonial School District gonna come and
they may,
expect the same thing?
they may.
And,
And, you know, do we say no because we don't want to set precedent? We don't support any of the schools? 'Cause
well, I
we-
know, I mean,
No, I'm just, you know, or do we do this and maybe in the new budget, we have under whatever the community grants are is, I'm leaving this up to you. I don't, something that we do for the schools, because I don't know that we do anything else for the schools.
I don't recall that we ever have.
No, and not that we're gonna go through schools asking for 30 grand or anything like that, but it's like, okay, well, we can, you know, pencil this in. You don't have to let them know it's there. You know, but this was the first time in the 6 years I was on council that we were approached about something like this. So I find that interesting. I was also gonna send it to the trust, since the trust provides William Penn Farm and everything, and I
Right.
didn't get it to them in time for tonight's meeting, so.
I mean, I was going to, I didn't realize that now that I see, there's only so many spots available, obviously, on the shirt. And, I mean, it's not a lot of money, even if we did, and, you know, I was going to suggest one of the smaller ones. And I assume the logo would be our seal.
Our seal and whatever the branding has with that, you know, historic Newcastle,
Yeah.
whatever. It wouldn't be,
That probably would be the 4x4. Based
you
on
could
the
do
sizes.
like what, well, I don't know what Suzanne was gonna,
I was gonna suggest one of the two smaller ones, but you're right, because it's kind of a square shaped thing. I don't know
so
that,
basically kind of almost what's on our trucks.
I don't know that it would fit into
So
one
we
of
have-
those
yeah.
rectangles.
So we could probably only use the squares, right? So which is be 4.5 by 4.5 on the sleeve, 5 and a 4, and 4 and a 4.
I was gonna
If we're
say-
using our logo, I'm just saying like in the way our logo
Yeah,
is.
you know, I wasn't going for the big 11 by 14.
No,
Nor was I even going for the sleeve per se, although sleeve would kind of be nice, tassels, but I was thinking more of a 4x4, which would fit the logo. And it's square, and I may call her if you say yes, and I may call her and go, oh, we'll take one of these, and she'll say those are all gone, and I'll be like, okay, sorry,
well,
they're gone.
Yeah.
so what do you all think about this?
I guess my bigger question is, can this be taken out of the tourism? Can it be put under there? In the sense that the new appointed tourism director can use that as a discretionary.
Well, we,
I don't think.
It's not a tourism, but it could be sold as increasing in awareness.
Well, I mean, the tourism money was split for the salary or the contract payment, and then 10,000 for promotional materials. So
I
let's
don't
say,
know, yeah, do
you
you
don't know
consider
that
this?
this is materials.
But I think that money, when, yeah, I go back to when we were creating this, that was for booklets, brochures, actually updating the website. It was not for stuff like this.
Yeah, but I don't, like, I'm on a big budget right now from last year. I don't see the line. Maybe outreach.
Oh,
It can be pointed out to that.
sure.
Storage for
And
I don't think that's what it's called. It's called something else. But here it is. It's on page 10. Contributions. Mayor,
community partnership. But that-
yeah, good community partnership, Goodwill, Newcastle Historical, the library, and the senior center.
But where's the
the high school's not in the list because we've never been
Oh,
out.
you mean we would add it at a
It would
contribution?
come under this line. In other words, we have a line item for contributions to the community. And we would be adding, if we went with a 4x4 or whatever, $499 to that line item. So we're not creating a new line item.
And I'm sure money would shift somewhere along the line, so.
Thank you for looking down. Yeah, I mean, given the revenue projections right now, expenditures and the size, we're looking at 725 through 500. I think we can swing it. I'll look over. Am I right?
I'm sorry, how much was
500 to 725. Now, there are some expenses that we were talking about that that are already at 90% that may cause a hole, but it didn't seem like there was a concern about it. So I know we can always find this money in our budget, but just, I don't want to make that decision based on.
Well, we're all
what I
making
think.
it.
You're all
yeah,
making
No, I'm saying based on what I think, I guess I'm saying like.
Well,
I'm personally not allowed. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say, that's. Well, we don't have
It's-
administrator, but
It's not your
it's you
decision.
guys calling.
It's not what?
It's not your decision.
so Norman, if I,
Decision,
you're willing to do this,
if there's money in the budget, if we think there's, yeah, I guess.
and what about the other?
I agree that it's, sorry, I think that I probably does set a precedent that we might want to think about sponsorship for Colonial School District marketing instead. It's just one school.
They are- But, you know, I don't want to make that, you know.
You know, this wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, that would,
Well, we're kind of putting it in under review.
You are.
As even said, but I think we can bring up under council communications and such, that when they're smaller items, small things, they don't have to be on the agenda. So,
Communications, yes, that's true.
yeah, so I'm communicating.
I think this is in alignment, with the city's mission. And I would be in support of up to a 4x4.
Is that a motion, Brian?
my only concern about making,
Yeah.
my only concern about making a motion is what we just heard, that this wasn't an agenda. And I really wish Max was here to tell us. Can we make a motion about something that wasn't on agenda? Can we produce something in a motion and then vote it on later? Is that the proper way to go?
I understand where you're coming from, but just from when I was on council, when small things came up, this is small. When small things came up, they could be introduced under council communications. A motion can be made and they could be voted on. You wouldn't bring up something like the purchase of a new vehicle or anything like that. I'm going on what I was told by Linda over the years. It's small. Like you could, if there was something you needed to spend a couple $100 on, or the council needed to spend it, it could be brought up under council communications, you know.
I understand, but we weren't introducing anything new tonight, in general, so that, I think just in alignment with that.
Well,
But yeah, anyways.
Suzanne and I had talked about it, she said, I think we can just bring it up.
Okay,
But, yeah, I mean, I was, as I said, sliding it in under contributions because we have a line item for that, to the community. I guess we could make.
If you're that worried about spending the money, Norm, we don't have to do it. I'll just call him tomorrow and say we
well,
can.
I guess my proposal is to make just a, part of next meeting's
I
agenda.
think they're looking for a
So
decision.
it's too late to add it to next week's agenda. That had to be posted to
I'm
that.
sure we can tell him, yeah. Anyways.
Well, they already, they made the decision the day or the day after, and I said, I have to wait until next
Mhm.
week or possibly 2 weeks. And when I spoke to Suzanne, and then I emailed her back and I said, well, we're gonna have a discussion. But if anyone's that uncomfortable with it, we can.
This mayor, I support public schools wholeheartedly and sports. I was a coach at William Penn myself for basketball. So I totally would vote yes for this proposal my concern here is just a matter of procedural matter.
If everybody,
So,
no,
yeah,
I'm
I think it just,
okay with
that
it.
doesn't make me
Looking for
comfortable.
a yes or a no.
Because the government is not a fast business. It's not something.
No,
that
we-
reach out and so I think that's just a lesson learned to Colonial. They need to reach out us ahead of time.
The other
You know,
thing would be, yes.
If we reach out to state, sorry, just, if we reach out to the state right now to request funding, right? But it's outside of the budget cycle and they already have completed their review. They wouldn't just include it in the budget just because we asked for something. I'm
No,
just,
but
so I,
if we shouted Nicole for 500, Senator Poor for $500 to do something, she'd probably just do it. So, you know, or maybe not, depending on what it was. But again, it's not. It was,
that's all. That's my concern.
it's what everybody's comfortable with, and if you're not comfortable, I'll let them know that and say, hey, reach out to us.
I'm just one vote, Ms. Mayor, so that's just all I'm saying.
I'm okay. Telling you what I want to tell them, which way it goes, that's all. If, so you guys make a decision and then I will convey the information.
So, somebody
I
have to introduce it.
Yeah, I motion that the city of Newcastle be in support of the Colonial School District and the children by contributing up to $499 for the purchase of these t-shirts
Logo.
with the logo.
Second, could, that for a second first? Can you recommend doing a 4x4 for $499 with the option of a 5x4 at $650 if 4x4s are okay with me?
See, that's strikes up. But no more than,
But no more than the $650.
Yeah, well, you know, I wasn't going for 725 or 1200.
No, but
Yeah.
the 4x4s may be gone and our logo is gonna fit in one of those two.
5x4.
so the motion on the floor is to contribute to the support of the sports program at William Penn High School with the purchase of a sponsorship not to exceed $650. Is that what I'm hearing?
Ideally to go with a 4x4, and if the 4x4s are gone, right then.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Not because I'm not supporting it, right, because for what I already said. Fully support this, I would fund this, you know.
Thank
Any
you. I
other
will
meeting.
give them.
Also, the perhaps proviso that they be informed that they're gonna do this next year, they need to give us more notice.
Yes, I will definitely.
We need a motion for the other three items. That's the budget. The other two
Probably, yeah.
items.
I will see this. Okay, so,
I'll make a motion that we revise the trolley barn roof budget to 20,000. The AV system at the senior center by 7,000 and the police, building improvements by 5,600.
So move.
second?
All right.
Second?
I thought you-
Okay. Second
Oh, yeah,
question,
second, no, I thought it was,
okay,
second, yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
It's not a-
Yeah.
I need to go back to, I'm sorry, to point number one on the agenda and just,
Oh,
say something about that if I could please.
okay,
So, understand on procedural matter, the contract will move forward. In order for, this role to be successful, I think it's important that, we give, the consultant a city email address and business card to promote our city and to be able to communicate in a first class way.
Okay.
That is not something that, I believe, Ms. Crawford had, but I believe it is just and it is necessary.
okay, the business cards, I think, are fairly simple because they can produce them in-house, if I remember correctly. The email, city email address is a little more complicated because we pay our consultant $25 per month per email address. So
It's only $25.
it's, yeah, per month. Just 20, no, it's 25
Gotcha,
per
gotcha,
month.
gotcha, gotcha.
So it's $100.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-month
We
period.
need a better contract.
I hear that. I believe that, it's my understanding that the information that would be communicated with, right, that data is proprietary to the city, right? And if something were to happen, to the contractor or someone needed to pick up something, that would give us an opportunity to, get that data from the email address.
Can we make it, tourism director of Newcastle instead of a person's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, great, yeah.
So, or,
Yeah.
historic Newcastle tourism at newcastlecity.delaware.
Single.
It's a long email.
Well,
We'll figure it out.
we can,
You figure out how, and thinking that it would be moved forward,
right,
so just in case.
a generic one, not your name, yes. Do you think that's a good idea? That's the city email. Okay.
I have one more quick question. So, I noticed when I was giving Nicole Porter's email to someone, she has two, which is, there's a delaware.gov
Right.
and there's a state.de.us. And ours is newcastlecity.delaware.gov. Is there a way to shorten?
I don't think so, because
That is the new.
that's the state domain.
Right, but I mean, even, I don't know, that's just, I forget the email.
I do too. I have a card in my wallet.
My email is here.
Use it on.
There. I mean, it would be great to shorten it at Delaware.gov or something shorter than that, but I know the Delaware that has to be in there. According to DTI. That we can shorten up Newcastle.
Agency.delaware or in NCC or I don't know.
But see, if we do, then we get, or even just NC, we get confused enough
That's true.
with the county.
That's true.
I mean, I was surprised, I called the city for something a few months ago. Do you know what the first item on our voicemail
Yeah,
menu
yep,
is?
if
If
you-
you're calling Newcastle County, please press 1. So
Yeah.
that tells you how
Yeah.
often this happens.
Yeah, okay, no, it's just, somebody goes, what's your email? And I'm like.
People send their tax payment for the city to the county and for the county to the city. And
No, there was something that we could do. I just know, it's just.
so I'm afraid you're stuck with that. even
Okay,
though, right?
all right.
But- All right, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Uh,
All right,